in that picture particularly, you can actually really see it. Welcome back to Jeremy Vine Extra. Coming up, we're going to be discussing whether shops are right to put security tags on essential items. But now we're taking your calls on this. Should Just Stop Oil be treated like a terrorist group? 0207 862 2222 is the number to give us a ring. We've got Kath from West Yorkshire on the line now. Kath, do you think Just Stop Oil are terrorists?
Well, not from what I've seen of them. I haven't seen any with a gun or a knife in the hand. Nope. But I think every protester, particularly these, should be given a 5-year jail sentence and made to serve it. Because they are causing nothing but chaos. They're putting people's lives at risk and they're doing criminal damage. And yet they're walking away free.
I hear what you're saying,
if they're not careful, someone is going to run over them.
Well, I hear what you're saying. They're putting their own lives at risk. They may potentially be putting lives at risk of people that they're holding up in these sorts of traffic jams we can see now on the M25. If we prescribe the group under the Terrorism Act, then basically it would give the courts more scope to give them harsher punishments. It would allow the police more scope to arrest them.
Well, if that's what it takes for them to get a proper jail sentence and serve it, then yes, do it.
But you would be putting them in with groups like ISIS. Do you think that's fair?
No. They're not ISIS. They're not running around with guns in their hands. They're not running around with knives in their hands. And they're not shooting people in the head. But they are causing chaos.
Kath, can I just say, I love your point of view. They are trying to destroy our society. Now, you say they don't belong in the same bracket as ISIS. ISIS go around committing terrible crimes, but they're trying to pull our society to pieces. They are trying to destroy.
Are there aims to insulate homes?
They are trying to destroy our way of life. If they got their way and we didn't have any oil anymore, we wouldn't be able to move around. We wouldn't be able to make clothes. We wouldn't be able to have detergent.
Their aim is literally to save society.
It's not. It's not. Their aim is to destroy society. They are anarchists and they want to bring society down as we know it today. I am very suspicious about their motives.
And their teachers.
And they're middle-class deadbeats, a lot of them, who don't have a proper job.
Well,
and that's why they can go out and sit down on motorways.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Middle-class deadbeat, everybody.
Kath, look at what you've started here. I'm going to stop you there, Mike, because we are now joined by Just Stop Oil campaigner Sam Johnson. Sam, I suppose the first question is, are you a terrorist?
No, that's just ludicrous. We're not. I'm a 39-year-old construction worker from Essex, and I'm doing this because my nephew, he's 7 years old, and I absolutely love him to bits. I'm trying to protect his childhood, his life, and all his hopes and dreams. And at the moment, we have a corrupt, suicidal government that is destroying everything.
But
so
Sam, what about Mike's comment? And actually, I think a lot of people might agree with Mike that actually you could be putting lives at risk with the traffic jams that you're causing.
Well, the disruption is serious. We're not denying that, but we are in a serious situation. We're in a very serious situation. Was it last week in COP? Antonio Guterres says we're on a highway to climate hell with our foot on the accelerator. Just Stop Oil's demand, if you boil it down, is that we just take our foot off the accelerator. We use 8 years worth of licenses. We make a just transition to renewable energy, which is 9 times cheaper. Would your viewers rather have an energy bill land on their doormat for £3,600 or for £400? And you know, there are people watching this at home right now that are cold because they can't afford to put their heating on. And that's the reality we're facing at the moment. The government is letting down the people of the United Kingdom.
It'd be a lot more expensive if they stopped oil licences and gas licences. It would then become absolutely inoperable.
You literally just talked about a phased transition, Mike.
No. I mean, I get the impression your organisation is one of anarchy. It's anti-capitalist. I don't believe your sole motive is to say, right, we can change the energy policy right now, because you must know full well you can't possibly change the energy policy of the 20th century of developed countries just like that. And the way you campaign against it, is ridiculous in the core, in the trouble you cause people, in the hurt that you cause people.
I'm not hearing a question there, so I'd like to put one to Sam. Sam, you've been arrested at a protest in the past. How would you feel if the police were able to hold you under terrorism laws?
Well, it's just crazy. I mean, civil rights movements in the past have been labelled. This is what happens with governments. They're doing it because they know we're getting support. They know the movement is going. In a recent poll, it said 66%, that's like 2/3 of the British public, support non-violent direct action to protect the environment. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing this because the government is failing us. It's failing the people of the United Kingdom. And we have to act because time is running out. We know that. It's code red for humanity. We have to act. The government is failing to act, and that's why we're here.
Thank you very much. That's Sam Johnson from Just Stop Oil.
There is a Terrorism Act stuff, which is worth mentioning, and Mike might actually care about this as a journalist. Journalist from LBC was arrested for covering some of the Just Stop Oil protests under existing laws. Under terrorism laws, journalists get arrested even more if they know something about what's going to be coming up. So if you prescribed Just Stop Oil, more journalists would get arrested just for covering it, just for reporting it, just for explaining it to the public. And that was part of the hidden costs of what that MP said yesterday. PM.
Linda from Essex, what's your thoughts on this? Are Just Stop Oil terrorists? Are they like the suffragettes?
No, I don't believe that. They're just like suffragettes. To me, they are going down the terrorist route because they're holding people, or they're trying to hold people hostage. And to me, that's a terrorist type of action. You know, there was a gentleman on the news, last week, saying that he'd missed his father's funeral. He'd missed, going to the crematorium. He'd missed the wake, and as he said, that this is not something that he could do later, that he could catch up on. He'd missed that because of these people, that has caused chaos and mayhem.
I absolutely hear what you're saying, Linda. But the counter-argument to that would be, can you compare holding people up in a traffic jam on the M25 to bombing somewhere, to arson, to beheading people? Are those two things comparable? And also, the what they're fighting for, does that have to be taken into consideration?
Well, yes, I understand. It doesn't go as far as the beheading and the bombing and things like that. But it's in another way, isn't it? I mean, children are going hungry at the moment. We're in a cash crisis in this country. Who is paying for the police to monitor all this? And, when they go to court, are they made to pay for, the cost to the councils and things like that? There are kids out there who are getting stabbed. We haven't got, a lot of police that can cover everything, and they are taking the police away from other jobs, safety on the streets to people. So if people are getting stabbed or what have you in other ways, isn't that a form of terrorism?
I've got you, Linda. So it's indirectly harm to civilians. Thank you very much for your call. Fiona from Cumbria, where do you sit on this debate?
Oh, I'm absolutely in favour of Just Stop Oil and all they're doing. I've got a 10-year-old granddaughter, and if we're talking about terror, there's the terror that I feel about her future. We've had a summer. I was listening to the callers and thinking what nice people they sound, and the people in Just Stop Oil are equally nice people. The only difference between your callers and between the people in Just Stop Oil is that supporters of Just Stop Oil have listened to the science and taken it in. And unlike Mike, are saying that when you listen to all the top scientists, when you listen to Prince William, when you listen to the government's own scientific advisor, they're all saying the same thing. We haven't got time, and we have to get out of oil and gas. And we do have alternatives, Mike. We have lots of alternatives, but the government continues to plough money into supporting the fossil fuel industry. So we have
Fiona,
We don't have to.
We
don't have to.
You
we
can't
can
suddenly
move.
cut that off. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
but you can't
nobody's saying suddenly.
cut that off.
Nobody's saying suddenly. We are
They're
not.
saying,
we are saying
stop issuing licenses.
Hold on, Mike.
Phase transition.
The licenses will not. The government is issuing licenses, and gas and oil will not come from those gas and oil fields for 10 years. Whereas if we went all out for onshore wind, that could come in this winter. We could be paying for insulation in people's houses.
What about the argument that they're holding the general public to ransom? In a cost of living crisis, people are trying to put food on the table, they're trying to earn money, and they're stopping them from being able to do that.
Well, could I just say that the first caller said that no people are getting away with it. My friend, who's 72 and client now, I've got two other friends who've been in prison as well for this, and people are doing these desperate things because they are desperate. They have engaged emotionally with the science, which I would say to everybody listening to this show, please think about what happened this summer. We had 2 40-degree days and 1,600 extra deaths were caused by those 2 days. It will get worse from now on in. We have food shortages coming our way. We have extreme weather events. We're getting the Environmental Agency saying 1 in 6 houses this February are in danger of being flooded out. We're in a serious situation.
I will never forget those very hot days because I was in a very, very hot maternity ward that day.
And the cost of dealing
Thank you
with the
very much for your
floods
call.
and the heat and the extra patients is far greater than the cost of policing some of these events. And if they invoke the Terrorism Act against Just Stop Oil, that actually causes more policing costs, not less.
Sarah from Kent, what's your thoughts on this?
Hi, good morning. I mean, whilst I agree that we need to, be very mindful about what's happening with climate change, I'm outraged at how many times I've heard people say that they're just causing a queue. If you happen to live in an area that has been impacted by what these people are doing, like we have in Dartford, and that's why Gareth Johnson is in the House of Parliament now saying what he's saying. I can't tell you how much impact it has on your life. And it's awful that there are people in back of ambulances and everything else with those extreme examples. But actually, everybody else, their day-to-day lives, you are absolutely held to ransom. We couldn't move for 2.5 days.
So, Sarah, would you support what Gareth Johnson's called for then, prescribing the organisation?
I think that there needs to be absolutely more of a deterrent for people, to not do this, because you're impacting on the public. You're trying to make a statement towards the government.
I hear what you're saying. The reason I ask this is because you said earlier that you actually agree with, we need to look after the environment, we need to save the planet, all that sort of thing. So you kind of agree what their aim. The problem with prescribing the organisation might be that if you do prescribe them, it means expressing an opinion or a belief in support of the prescribed organisation could result in 14 years in jail and fines. So that could put you at risk then, Sarah, if we do what Gareth Johnson has asked?
I think you can protest and you can make a point. What I'm trying to say is, my point is the people who are being impacted. I mean, the lady before, I absolutely agree with a lot of what she's saying, but I'm not sure how many protests there have been in Cumbria. When you can't physically get to your small business to earn money and during a cost of living crisis, when you can't leave your house to go about your daily business, go to work, get your children anywhere because you cannot move your car, you cannot get on a bus because nothing is moving to 2.5 days. I just don't agree that is right. And you can't say it's just a queue because there was no alternative for people who are directly impacted.
I hear you, Sarah.
You cannot move anywhere.
Thank you very much for your call. Thanks for all your calls on this. We are going to move on now. After the break,